Leo, radiant soul, today marks the beginning of something extraordinary. This isn't just another horoscope reading, it's a cosmic declaration. Your biggest financial breakthrough begins right now. And if you're here, it's not by chance. Something in your spirit was magnetized to this exact moment. That's alignment. That's divine timing. Have you ever felt like you've given everything, your fire, your leadership, your loyalty, and yet the world hasn't quite paid you back in the way you deserve? Have you been asking the universe silently, when will it be my turn? You are not alone in that question. And today, you're no longer waiting. You're receiving. Right now, the universe is organizing events, energies, and opportunities in your favor. This is not about temporary luck or a one-time reward. It's about a shift in your entire frequency. A new financial timeline is opening a path where you are not only seen, but fully valued. And it starts today. The sun, your ruling planet, is illuminating your house of value and prosperity. Astrologically, this is one of the most powerful times of the year for you to step into material abundance that reflects your true inner worth. No more shrinking. No more overgiving. No more settling. This is the moment you step forward as the Leo you were always meant to be, bold, magnetic, worthy, and richly supported. But let's be clear. This isn't just about money. It's about the recognition you've earned over lifetimes. It's about the energetic return on the investment of your heart, your resilience, your sacrifices. You've been the light in the dark for so many. Now the light returns to you in the form of tangible, life-altering abundance. I invite you to pause for a moment and truly receive that. You see, nothing you've been through has been wasted. The struggles, the doubts, the long nights wondering if you were doing enough, they were not signs of lack. They were signs of preparation. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. And today, the positioning ends. The rising begins. Let me take a moment to thank you deeply for being here. Every view, every comment, every like and subscription connects you further with this soul-centered community we call Eternal Mindfulness. It is your energy, your belief, and your presence that breathe life into this channel and help carry these transformational messages out into the world. So from the deepest part of my heart, thank you. And if this message is resonating with something sacred inside you, drop a comment right now and affirm it. Let the universe hear it through your voice. Right, I am ready to receive the abundance I deserve. Because trust me, Leo, this is just the beginning. What's about to unfold in the rest of this reading will open your eyes to the unseen forces working behind the scenes on your behalf. You'll want to stay with me until the very end because what the universe is about to reveal is nothing short of breathtaking. Leo, you've walked a path that many rarely notice, yet the universe has seen every step. You've been the fire in cold rooms, the steady presence when chaos called, the leader who didn't need a crown to hold space with dignity. And in that silent service, in that quiet brilliance, something sacred has been forming beneath the surface, like gold taking shape beneath the heat of pressure. You've sacrificed your spotlight not because you lacked light, but because you understood that real power isn't in being seen, it's in choosing when to be. You've withheld your roar in rooms where your truth could have burned, not because you were weak, but because you knew restraint was strength. Like a lion standing watch, you protected your values, your ethics, your integrity even when no one applauded. You could have compromised. You could have taken easier paths, louder stages, quicker validations. But you didn't. And that decision, the invisible ones, the internal ones, are what the cosmos counts most. There's a principle in universal law that says, energy never disappears. It only transforms. Every moment you chose authenticity over applause, every hour you labored behind the scenes with excellence and no expectation, every time you swallowed pride to preserve inner peace, those became deposits in your energetic vault. This vault isn't myth. It's real, and it's magnetic. It holds what you've earned not in currency, but in frequency. And when the alignment is right, like today, it begins to release its yield. Imagine a cosmic scale, perfectly balanced. On one side is all the love, effort, and presence you've poured out. On the other, the return, the material, emotional, and spiritual compensation. And right now, that scale is tipping in your favor. Not because you begged for it, but because you've outgrown the version of you that tolerates imbalance. You see, in the subtle layers of energy, what's given in integrity is never lost. It's merely delayed until the receiver is ready. That's what this moment represents, not a gift you haven't earned, but a release you're finally ready to receive. And it is because you've stayed rooted through storms, because you've remained kind in the face of disrespect, because you've held your ground when your voice shook, that now your name is being called. Think of the image of a monarch who lives not for glory, but for guardianship. You have been that quiet ruler. But even kings and queens are meant to be honored in return. You didn't build your empire overnight. You built it brick by brick, with decisions nobody saw. And what the world mistook for stillness was your preparation. What they called delay was divine pacing. What you called not yet was the universe whispering, just a little more refining. And so, this is the moment you step into the light, not to prove anything, but to reflect everything you've become. The Strength card in tarot is not about brute force. It's about the soft power of self-mastery. And that is what you've cultivated. The Six of Pentacles reminds us that justice is not just a legal concept, it's energetic. It speaks of balance restored, of generosity returned, of value reciprocated. These archetypes are not distant, they are alive within you now. Let's be honest, your soul didn't come here to chase crumbs. It came to remember its royalty. And you've remembered, not through declarations, but through devotion. You've embodied the kind of resilience that transforms karma into clarity, and effort into elevation. You've arrived at the threshold not because you rushed, but because you stayed. And that's what makes this moment more than just a financial shift, it's an evolution of your essence. So when the breakthrough arrives, and it will, don't be surprised. Be ready. Because this isn't just a reward. It's a recognition. And it's about time. What's arriving in your life now, dear Leo, is not a momentary windfall. It's not the kind of fleeting abundance that comes with strings or uncertainty. No, what's coming is a shift in your frequency, a raising of your energetic state to match what you have always been capable of holding. You're not simply receiving more money. You're being entrusted with a higher tier of value, because for the first time in a long time, your inner richness matches your outer receptivity. This is what makes it royal. You've crossed a threshold where the universe no longer treats your prosperity as a lesson, it now treats it as a reflection. What you're stepping into isn't transactional wealth. It's a new relationship with life where abundance flows toward you because of who you've become, not what you're chasing. That's what makes this particular financial blessing feel so different. It's not earned through striving, but invited through alignment. That alignment has been forming quietly for months, maybe years. And now, because you're no longer diluting yourself to fit spaces that can't honor your light, the resources that match your brilliance are being magnetized in return. There's a deeper intelligence behind the timing of this breakthrough. The number 27, the date on which this shift is activated, carries the vibration of 9 in numerology, a sacred number that signifies the end of karmic cycles and the preparation for new paths. It is the final stretch before rebirth. That alone tells us something powerful. The wealth approaching you isn't a reward for past effort, it's a closure, a completion, a sealing of lessons. What comes next is a realm you couldn't have stepped into without first shedding what was no longer yours to carry. This is also why the form your abundance takes will be different for each Leo, but universally elevated. It may be a project where you finally take the lead role, no longer waiting for approval from those who once overlooked you. It may be a payment or inheritance from a source that had long closed its doors. Or perhaps it's a collaboration you had only dared to dream, a phone that recognizes your full creative genius and compensates accordingly. Whatever it looks like on the surface, it carries the same vibration. You are being treated like royalty, because you have stopped treating yourself like anything less. To fully anchor this energy, what you wear, say, and choose today matters. Color is not just visual, it is vibrational. Gold activates the solar plexus, your center of personal power and self-worth. Burgundy red grounds your decisions in sovereignty and richness. And deep sapphire blue sharpens your intuition while amplifying dignified communication. Don't just dress beautifully. Dress intentionally. Wrap yourself in frequencies that mirror your new standard of worth. The same goes for how you speak. Choose words that declare your value, not defend it. Speak from the place that knows you are enough. No justification. No hesitation. Just clarity. And most importantly, how you make decisions today will determine how fully you receive what is coming. Move only toward what feels clean, aligned, and peaceful in your chest. Let your body, not your mind, be your compass. As they say, when the mind is noisy, the soul whispers. But when the soul speaks through calm certainty, the path is unmistakable. What's rising now is the life you once imagined was too far away. And the only requirement to receive it is to stop dimming your light. Because prosperity, in its highest form, doesn't knock loudly. It waits quietly at the door of those who are finally willing to open it without fear. So ask yourself, not, am I worthy, but rather, am I willing to let this version of myself finally lead? You are not being given something outside of you. You are being asked to accept what has always lived within you, waiting for your permission to arrive. There comes a quiet moment in a soul's journey when the striving softens, not because you've given up, but because you've finally woken up. Leo, you've reached that moment. You are no longer chasing value, you are embodying it. And the energy around you has taken notice. This isn't just a change in your bank account, it's a change in your inner posture, your self-permission, your energetic signal to the world. You've shifted. And because energy responds to intention, the money, opportunities, and recognition that once passed you by are now pausing, turning back, and making their way toward you. There was a time when you gave and gave, hoping your worth would be noticed through effort. You showed up with loyalty, with brilliance, with strength. But you stayed in rooms that didn't know how to see you. You said yes to roles that underpaid your light. You tolerated dynamics that benefited from your power while asking you to make yourself small. But that version of you no longer lives here. Something sacred within you has closed that chapter, not with anger, but with understanding. You now know that anything requiring you to shrink cannot help you grow. And that knowing, Leo, has changed your frequency. When you stopped negotiating your value, your field became clear. And when your energy becomes clear, your life does too. This is how magnetic alignment begins, not by working harder, but by standing firmer in who you are. You've begun to choose peace over proving, clarity over confusion, and alignment over approval. As a result, your entire energetic blueprint has shifted from lack to invitation. And that's why the abundance coming your way now doesn't feel like a reward, it feels like a reflection. In esoteric understanding, your energetic field will rise like a living mirror. It reflects how you see yourself back to the world. When you see yourself as enough, the world confirms it. When you see yourself as lacking, the world echoes it back. That's why internal transformation always precedes external manifestation. The more you affirm your worth, the more others are guided consciously or not to do the same. This is also the stage in the journey where your power becomes quieter, but stronger. Like the sun no longer seeking validation for its shine, you radiate from presence, not performance. The metaphor is clear. For so long, you were the light source for others, swarming them, guiding them, illuminating their paths. But now, you're learning to turn that radiance inward. Not to become self-centered, but to become self-honoring. Because what you nurture within becomes what you magnetize without. You might not notice this shift in dramatic ways at first. But you'll begin to feel it in the subtle decisions, choosing not to explain yourself to those who don't listen, declining offers that ask for more than they give, walking away from admiration that feels conditional. You'll also feel it in the confidence that rises unprovoked, steady, unshakable, knowing that you are enough, now, as you are. To integrate this change fully, begin small. Open a journal and write, "I am worthy of receiving," and let the sentence finish itself each time. No judgment. Let the truth speak louder than the conditioning. Then try this affirmation, quietly or out loud: "I am a living magnet for money and meaningful recognition." Let it become a mantra, not just for manifestation, but for remembering. As one ancient teaching reminds us, nothing outside of you will satisfy what must first be seen within. You have seen it now. You've remembered your value. And everything around you is simply following your lead. ChatGPT NOI. Something remarkable begins the moment a soul becomes ready to receive without resistance. Leo, you are now standing at the edge of such a threshold, one that cannot and will not close again. This isn't just a chapter change. It's the kind of pivot that alters your energetic trajectory for good. Beginning on July 27th and carrying through the next 8 weeks, you enter a window of heightened momentum, where your efforts, intentions, and aligned choices begin to link like falling dominoes, one after the next, each one triggering the next phase of your expansion. This is not linear progress. It's exponential unfolding. What makes this period unique isn't just the visible results, it's the invisible orchestration happening behind them. The universe is arranging people, messages, and opportunities to meet you exactly where you are now, not where you used to be. The more you anchor into your self-worth, the more quickly these coincidences begin to cluster. Expect invitations that seem to arrive out of nowhere. A former collaborator may suddenly reach out, now seeing your value with fresh eyes. Or a financial opportunity you once missed may reappear, only this time, under your terms. The key isn't to push. It's to notice. Because this is a season of recognition, not chasing. Astrologically, this cycle is no accident. With the Sun, the ruling planet of Leo, sitting powerfully in your sign and forming positive aspects, trines, to Jupiter or Uranus, you are literally being lit up with expansion and breakthrough energy. The Sun represents conscious identity. Jupiter expands it. Uranus electrifies it. When these planets harmonize, life doesn't just change, it shifts dimension. What felt delayed suddenly moves fast. What seemed fixed finds a new path. What you thought had ended might return in an entirely elevated form. The Wheel of Fortune in Tarot echoes this perfectly. It signals a karmic turning, a moment where the invisible hand of destiny spins the wheel on your behalf. You're no longer repeating an old cycle, entering a new level of the game. But unlike the past, this time you're not scrambling to figure it out. You're prepared. The Emperor card supports this, reminding you that structure, clarity, and quiet confidence now become your greatest assets. You don't need to beg for the seat at the table. You are the table. And 10 of Pentacles, with all its generational stability, reminds you that the seed you're planting in this 8-week window won't just feed you, they will create abundance that lasts. And yet, even with all this cosmic momentum, the real shift happens in a much subtler way, in your body. Pay attention to the sensations. A surprising feeling of peace may rise when you make a financial decision that used to scare you. You may find yourself saying yes to an opportunity that once felt too big. These internal cues, this calm clarity, are the universe speaking through your nervous system. Trust them. There is a wisdom teaching that says, when the path opens, don't ask if it's the right one. Ask if you are walking it with presence. This next phase is not about forcing your way forward. It's about stepping fully into what is already unfolding. You don't have to run toward the breakthrough, it's already moving toward you. Stay open. Stay grounded. And remember, you are not who you were 8 weeks ago, and you won't be the same person 8 weeks from now. This cycle will not just change your finances. It will change your relationship to flow, to faith, and to how you let good things stay. Because once this door opens, it doesn't close. And once you say yes to receiving what is truly meant for you, life rearranges itself to match your yes. There's a point in every transformational journey where the effort shifts, not because the path ends, but because something deeper has awakened. Leo, you have reached that point. This is no longer a season for more hustle, more proving, or more chasing. This is the season of return. Of allowing. Of receiving what has already been earned through years of invisible work. What's coming to you now doesn't require force, it requires presence. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally stopped making it harder than it needed to be. This is the paradox that many struggle to accept, that sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop striving and start aligning. The energy you emit when you are centered, when you are truly being yourself without apology, is far more potent than any checklist of accomplishments. Because when you are grounded in your truth, you no longer magnetize out of desperation, you attract out of clarity. There's a lesson here that echoes in ancient wisdom. When the soil has been tilled, the rains come not because the farmer begs, but because the ground is ready. You've done the work. You've stayed up nights trying to solve things. You've said yes when it would have been easier to say no. You've stretched yourself in ways no one saw. And now, the universe recognizes that your field is ripe. It is your time to receive, not because you've worked harder, but because you've become wiser. Financial breakthroughs, especially the kind that change your life from the inside out, rarely arrive in the middle of frenzy. They tend to come in stillness, in quiet resolve, in moments where you least expect them. That's why rest isn't laziness, it's strategic. Rest is where your nervous system repairs itself so you can hold more. It's where your intuition speaks the loudest. It's where your vision becomes clear again. If you've been feeling tired lately, it's not a sign that you're behind. It's a sign that your body is preparing to receive what your mind has been praying for. And this is where Leo's natural power evolves. You were born to shine. But now, that shine doesn't come from being everywhere or doing everything. It comes from being intentional. You don't need to exhaust yourself to earn visibility. You are already visible to the right people, in the right way, when you are most aligned. This is the shift from ego-led action to soul-led receptivity. You're not here to prove your worth anymore. You're here to live it. This is also the time to reframe how you play. Leos are known for their sense of grandeur, style, and celebration. But what if now, you upgraded your relationship with abundance by choosing elegant restraint, not to hold back, but to be selective? To know when to invest, and when to walk away. To give not because you feel obligated, but because it is meaningful. That is the energy of sustainable wealth. Strategic. Sovereign. Sacred. Here's something simple but profound I want you to do. Write down 3 situations where you gave your best but were not fully compensated financially, emotionally, or energetically. A job, a project, a relationship. Write them without bitterness. Just name them. And then speak this aloud. I now allow the universe to return to me, in unexpected and aligned ways, the value I once gave freely. Let that be your invitation, not to fight harder, but to open wider. Because this moment isn't asking for more of your effort. It's asking for more of your honesty. Your receptivity. Your unshakable belief that it's okay to finally let it all come back to you. Not as struggle. Not as proof. But as the natural consequence of who you've become. ChatGPT de NOI. As we come to the close of this message, Leo, I want to gently remind you today wasn't a coincidence. You didn't arrive here by chance, and you didn't stumble upon these words by accident. The moment you chose to listen, to be present, and to truly open yourself to what July 27th represents, was the moment the universe began to rearrange in your favor. Not because you pleaded. Not because you overextended yourself. But because you've become someone who is finally capable of receiving without guilt, without apology, without shrinking. This day is more than a date. It is a beginning. A spiritual marker carved in the rhythm of your life's greater unfolding, a signal that the financial chapter ahead will not mirror the strain of the past. If you truly allow it, this can be the threshold moment that breaks a cycle you've been quietly outgrowing for years. Your worthiness was never in question. What was in question was whether you would allow yourself to step into the life that matches the depth of your inner work. And now, you've answered that with your presence here, your willingness to reflect, and the courage to shift from doing to be enough into simply being, and knowing that's enough. It's time to live like the source of light you've always been. Not just the one who gives warmth to others, but the one who also stands in that glow for yourself. The recognition coming your way is not a handout. It is a natural echo of your frequency. The financial breakthroughs ahead are not prizes, they are reflections of how deeply you've chosen integrity over convenience, clarity over chaos, self-trust over fear. So now I ask you, what would change if you truly believed this was the beginning of your greatest cycle? How would you speak to yourself? How would you treat your time? What would you no longer tolerate? And more importantly, what would you finally say yes to? If even a part of your heart is whispering yes right now, take a moment to affirm it. Let your words become the key that unlocks the next door. Comment below and speak it into form. I receive the greatest financial reward of my life. Let that sentence be your signal to the universe that you are no longer waiting, you are welcoming. You are no longer hiding, you are shining. And you are no longer asking if you deserve it, but when you will allow it in. That time is now. And as you continue this journey, know that you are not alone. This channel, Eternal Mindfulness, is more than a space, it's a sanctuary for those ready to live by intention, alignment, and deep emotional clarity. I invite you to subscribe, to stay connected, and to walk with me through this expansive 8-week cycle, because what's ahead is rich not just in money, but in meaning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to awaken, even when it's easier to sleepwalk through life. Your presence matters, not just to this space, but to every person who will one day be inspired by your example. The universe is not giving you a reward. It is returning what you've already earned, through every silent act of grace, every boundary you finally set, every time you held your worth even when it cost you everything. Leo, now is the time to stop living like your light is optional. Now is the time to rise, not for anyone else's applause but because you finally remember who you are. And the world is more beautiful when you don't forget. Stay grounded. Stay open. And stay radiant. I'll see you in the next message.